You wake up with a plan. Today, you'll finally start. The work, the project, the thing you've been avoiding for weeks. But instead, you check your phone. 5 minutes turns into 50. And somehow, you end the day doing everything except the one thing that actually matters. So here's the question. If procrastination hurts us, why do we keep doing it? Because this isn't laziness. It's something far more calculated and far more dangerous. Procrastination is one of the most misunderstood behaviors in human psychology. We like to think it's a time management problem. It's not. It's an emotion regulation problem. And that changes everything. Because when you procrastinate, you're not avoiding work. You're avoiding how the work makes you feel, stress, uncertainty, self-doubt. That subtle fear that maybe you're not good enough. And your brain has a solution for that. Avoid it immediately. This response is rooted deep inside your biology. Your brain has two competing systems, the limbic system, which is fast, emotional, and impulsive, and the prefrontal cortex, which is slow, logical, and future-focused. When you face a difficult task, the prefrontal cortex says, "This matters for your future," but the limbic system interrupts, "This feels uncomfortable right now," and your brain prioritizes now over later, every time. This is called temporal discounting. Your brain literally devalues future rewards compared to immediate relief. So finishing a project next week, not as important as feeling better right now, and scrolling your phone gives instant dopamine. That small hit of pleasure, that quick escape. And suddenly, your brain learns something dangerous. Avoidance works. But here's the strange part. Procrastination doesn't actually remove stress. It amplifies it. Because now you're not just dealing with the task, you're dealing with guilt and anxiety and the growing pressure of lost time. This creates what psychologists call the procrastination loop. You avoid, you feel relief, the problem grows, you feel worse, you avoid again. A perfect cycle, self-reinforcing, hard to break. But this behavior isn't new. Humans have been struggling with procrastination for thousands of years. Even ancient philosophers noticed it. The Greeks had a word for it, akrasia. It means acting against your better judgment, knowing what you should do, and doing the opposite anyway. And they didn't see it as laziness. They saw it as a conflict within the self, a battle between reason and impulse. Sound familiar? Fast forward to modern neuroscience, and we're seeing the same pattern, but with a twist. Because today, procrastination is being weaponized against you, your environment is engineered for distraction, social media platforms, short-form content, endless notifications. They are designed to hijack your attention, to keep you in a loop of instant gratification, every swipe, every click, every notification. It's not random. It's behavioral design, and it trains your brain to prefer easy dopamine over meaningful progress, which makes hard tasks feel even harder, and avoidance even more tempting. But here's where things get even more interesting. Not all procrastination is the same. There are different types, and each one reveals something deeper. First, there's avoidant procrastination. This is driven by fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear that your work won't be good enough. So instead of risking failure, you delay starting, because as long as you haven't started, you haven't failed. Then there's decisional procrastination. This happens when you're overwhelmed by choices, too many options, too much uncertainty, so your brain freezes and chooses nothing. And then there's arousal procrastination. This one is sneaky. You delay tasks on purpose because you believe you work better under pressure. The "I'll do it last minute" mindset. And sometimes it even works, which reinforces the behavior. But over time, it leads to burnout because you're constantly operating in stress mode. And here's the critical insight. Procrastination is not about poor discipline. It's about emotional avoidance combined with reward miscalculation. Your brain is making a trade, short-term comfort, in exchange for long-term consequences. And it keeps making that trade because it works in the moment. But there's a hidden cost. Every time you procrastinate, you train your brain. You strengthen the neural pathways of avoidance. You make it easier to do it again and harder to stop. This is how habits are formed. Not through intention, but through repetition. And over time, procrastination becomes your default response to difficulty. But scientists discovered something unexpected. The solution isn't forcing yourself harder. That usually backfires, because force increases resistance. Instead, the solution is reducing emotional friction, making the task feel less threatening. This is where strategies like task chunking come in. Breaking a large task into smaller, manageable steps. Because your brain isn't scared of writing a sentence. It's scared of writing an entire report. Then there's cognitive reappraisal, changing how you interpret the task. Instead of, "This is stressful," you reframe it as, "This is a challenge." Same situation, different emotional response. And then there's the concept of the 5-minute rule. You commit to working on something for just 5 minutes. That's it, because starting is the hardest part. Once you begin, momentum takes over, and suddenly 5 minutes becomes 50. But here's the deeper truth. You don't beat procrastination by becoming more productive. You beat it by becoming more aware, because procrastination thrives in unconscious behavior, automatic reactions, default patterns, the moment you pause, and notice what's happening. I'm avoiding this because it feels uncomfortable. You interrupt the loop, you bring the prefrontal cortex back online and regain control, and this is where things shift, because now you're not fighting yourself, you're understanding yourself, and that changes the game completely, because procrastination isn't a flaw, it's a signal that something about the task is triggering resistance. Maybe it's too big, too unclear, too emotionally loaded, and instead of ignoring that signal, you can respond to it, adjust the task, reduce the friction, change the approach, and move forward, not perfectly, but consistently. Because in the end, procrastination isn't about time. It's about tension. The tension between who you are now and who you want to become. And every time you choose action over avoidance, you close that gap, even slightly. So the next time you catch yourself procrastinating, don't just ask, why am I wasting time? Ask something better. What am I trying to avoid feeling? Because that's where the real answer is. And maybe that's where progress actually begins. If this made you rethink how your mind works, hit like, share this with someone who needs it, and subscribe for more deep dives into human behavior.